Welcome back. We're here again with another cerec module, picking up from last time where we took a look at this home screen for tooth number 14 and we went through the different ways to view a tooth, whether it's rotated around or hit view options. We went through our display objects and how to turn models on and off and bring them in and out of the screen. We went through our analyzing tools where we kind of showed you how to turn more features on and off, including a couple cool ones like Model Box that allowed us to flip this whole thing over if we happen to have a tooth that was binding somewhere and see where it was hitting high. It's kind of like Fit Checker that you would use in dental school if you have a crown that's not seating all the way. So where we're going to go today is a place that hopefully you're not going to have to use a lot of these tools, because again, great preps plus great images equal piece of cake with cerec. But in the beginning, the rate limiting step, the hardest part of this learning curve, is taking great pictures. So when your pictures aren't so great, you're going to use this little wheel here, this tool wheel. I'll left click on it and bring it up for us. And that's going to allow us to do some pretty simple manipulation with our restoration. So we're going to kind of go through these one at a time, but what I would like you to remember, whenever you're using tools, you want to think to use the tools that make the biggest movements first, that move the largest pieces of tooth first, and work your way down to fine movements. People could get lost in tool town pretty easily if you start messing around with fine things like putting in tertiary anatomy and forgetting that you need to move a cusp or a marginal ridge, because then you go to move one of those big pieces of tooth and all of a sudden your beautiful anatomy has changed again. So, one of my favorite tools that is a larger tool is Shape. It is the fourth one down. We're going to left click on that and it's going to bring up our choices. We can do manipulation with the shape of a tooth two major ways, either anatomically, which is highlighted right now, or I can left click on circular and that will bring up the same exact window but with the circular highlighted. Now the difference between anatomical and circular, if you look at this picture, is the size of the pieces of tooth that you're moving. So if I want to move the largest pieces of tooth that I would ever want to do with cerec, I'm going to be on anatomical. Now what I'll tell you is, within each of these you can choose. You can choose automatic, which means you're going to start moving lots of things quickly. You can move 2 directionally or you can move 4 directionally. I would strongly recommend, at least in the beginning, you keep things on 2 direction. It's easy to get lost when you're trying to move pieces of tooth in too many dimensions at one time, especially in the beginning. But if I come over to this tooth now, what you're going to see is this tooth gets turned on yellow. So if I'm right in the middle of the tooth, what I can do if I left click is I can move this entire tooth up. Now I'm going to move this away. We've got a lot of red on there now because red means our occlusion is high. Or I can come here and I can left click and I can move my mouse in the other direction and I can move the entire tooth down. But here's what happens if you're moving a really, really big piece of tooth. You should be able to see on your screen, let's turn this off for a second, we'll turn it back on. Right in between this mesial buccal and distal buccal cusp, right here is a very, very faint, kind of a oceany blue color. And when you see that, that means we have violated our minimal thickness. Remember back in parameters when we said we don't want to make this restoration any thinner than whatever number we've chosen. But we know ultimately in ceramics we don't want to make this thinner than 1.5 to 2 millimeters. So we've told cerec that, and if we violate it, it's going to help us remember by showing us this color wherever we're too thin. So the trouble with big movements, if you do them too quickly, is you can move too much of the tooth at one time. So we're still on anatomical, we're still on 2 direction. I'm going to bring this back here, right in the middle. I'm going to left click. I'm going to raise it up until that blue is gone. So we're not too thin anymore, but we've got a couple things that we may want to change. For example, these colors here, let's turn that off.